Hey, what the hell's going on, you guys? It's Super Player Negative AE, and welcome back to When They Cry. Last we left off, we had just entered a spooky shrine and turned on the light very briefly, but the light is now off, and freaking Shion seemed real nervous about that, so hopefully that's not foreshadowing that someone's gonna come by and be like, hey, or Tomitaki-san's gonna, like, be dead outside when we go outside, and, like, what are we gonna do at that point? What do you do if you just find Tomitaki dead? You call the police, right? But then, like, you were the only ones there, so, like, how suspicious does that look? I don't know. Anyway, I think this girl's about to tell us a story. Yes, because we don't really find this place interesting, so she's gonna tell us a story that makes it interesting. Then just for you, Keiichi-kun, I'll tell you an old story. It's a common tale in this region.
図書館に行けば教育委員会推薦の本にも載ってるくらいね。
Stories in such a dark, creepy place? She must have a horror story in mind. Shion's face belied nothing but calm. If she had the same personality as Mion, she'd have found fault with me being scared. I'll endure it for now and pretend to be calm.
いい？じゃあ読むわよ。
After confirming that I was going to be quiet and listen, she began to speak softly, like a kindergarten teacher reading a picture book.
昔々ある山奥の村にね、その沼はね、底なしの深い地の底の鬼の国につながっていたんですって。
Rumor said that it was deeper than the ocean, and that anyone it swallowed would sink into the underworld of bottomless swamp. Its name was Onagafuchi. But back to the story I heard yesterday about sacrifices sinking in the bottomless swamp. Would that be the swamp she's talking about?
ってことは、その村はひなみ沢ですね。
察しがいいわね。そうよ。当時は鬼ヶ淵村って呼ばれてたけどね。
鬼ヶ淵村、物騒な響きのある名前だな。
イメージもあったんでしょうね。明治の頃に今の名前に改称されたって聞きました。
The name of the swamp connected to hell was called Onagafuchi, which meant the demon's abyss. This is all the same from the last universe. And the true name of this village, Hinamizawa, was Onagafuchi Village.
村人たちは鬼の国、つまりは地獄のことね。鬼の国とつながるという沼を崇めながら過ごして、でもね、ある日のこと。
Demons began to appear one after another from deep in the swamp. The villagers feared that hell was overflowing. Demons mercilessly attacked the villagers. They could only watch in fear. They could do no more than hide themselves and tremble.
で、誰かが鬼を退治するわけですか？
残念だけど、このお話には桃太郎みたいな正義の味方は登場しないわ。
じゃあ、村を挙げて戦うわけですか？
まさか、村人たちに鬼と互角に戦える力など
じゃあ、村を捨てて逃げるしかないですよね。
それも無理ね。村人たちにとっても、どんな恐ろしい鬼が攻めてきたからといって、簡単に逃げ出せるはずもなかったの。
じゃあ、どうするんですか？滅びるしかないじゃないですか。
Unable to fight and unable to run. All they could do was wait for the village to be destroyed. Then when everyone had lost hope, their god, Oyashiro-sama, descended onto them.
なるほど。つまり、天からやってきたお社様が鬼たちをやっつけるわけですか。
Oyashiro-sama recruited all the demons.
ケイちゃんは男の子ですね。すぐに腕力で解決する方に走るんですから。
John sighed, a little annoyed. Embarrassed, I held my tongue.
お社様はね、やっつけるとか、そういう暴力的な神様じゃなかったの。もっと優しい、慈愛のある神様だったの。
strength of Oyashiro-sama descended from the heavens. Couldn't be compared to that of the demons. They didn't even fight. They simply prostrated themselves before his radiant authority. Oyashiro-sama urged them to go back to hell from whence they came, but the demons wept and challenged him, saying they could never return.
鬼たちの世界にも厳しい戒律があってね。彼らは地獄を追放された鬼たちだったんですって。
Demons who didn't have a place to go either in hell or in the human world. Of course, they were at fault for attacking the village. They deeply reflected on it and were sorry.
村人たちも話を聞くうちに少しずつ気の毒になっていったわ。それでね、村のみんなで話し合った結果、
対峙するとか追っ払うっていう昔話は多いけど、共存ってのは確かに珍しいですね。
ですよね。鬼ってのは元来諸悪の象徴のはず、それとの共存を決めたというお話なんだから、本当に変わってます。
When the demons first heard the villagers' invitation, they doubted their ears, but soon burst into tears of joy. Villagers have given them a place to live. It was said that in payment for this good deed, the demons shared their many kinds of power and secrets with the villagers. Interesting.
お社様はその微笑ましい交流をとても喜んでね。鬼たちが村人と分け隔てなく暮らせるよう人間の姿を与えたんですって。そして自らも地上にとどまり、末永く両者の交流を見守ることにしたんだそうよ。
This is new information. I think this story is basically fact, right? They're just telling me exactly what's going on, you know? Like the villagers have human skins. A land in which man, demon, and God live together. They thought the word demon was a noun, meaning evil that needs to be exterminated. I don't know why I do that. Stop doing that. A god may have mediated for them, but you don't often hear happy endings like that where both sides live in harmony. I see. I guess it is kind of interesting.
普通のおとぎ話ならここで終わりなんだけど、このお話は江戸時代にだいぶ加筆されたみたいで、まだまだ続く随分と長い話になってるわ。
So that the humans and demons intermixed, and eventually there was no difference between them.
鬼の存在は結局村に溶け込んで消えてしまったということですか？
いいえ、消えたりなんかしないです。半分はしっかりと残ってたそうですよ。
The knowledge the villagers had received from the demons basically made them into something inhuman, what people call transcendent. They were well aware the power they had was heresy, and as those below worshipped them, they lived out their lives in secrecy.
このお話がね、その後に派生するたくさんの昔話、フィクションの原点になってる。だからこのお話がある意味基礎中の基礎。
Yeah, like they're saying it's fiction. I don't think the game...
原点ってどういう意味ですか？
I don't think the game wants me to think that there's actually demons running
村
around.
人たちは鬼の血を引いているという部
Maybe
分
it
で
does.
すね。つまりこの辺りに伝わるさまざまな伝承や昔話は全部その村の人たちは鬼の血を引いているというのが前提になっているんです。
Because it's calling it like fiction and like oh, that was in the past though, this isn't real, you know? But like I know that there's demons, like you can't dissuade me. There's a hint of amusement in Shion's face as she said that. It's like she wanted to say that too, that she too had demon blood in her. I believe it. Is there any proof though? Yeah, dude, look, freaking talk to Shion. Dude, best demon girl? How sick would that be, dude? Best girl is also a nice ass demon? Or like person with transcendent powers? Oh my god. Maybe that's why all the demons Maybe that's why the demons can't touch her, is because she's a human with transcendent powers. That would be crazy. Maybe it's somehow rooted in historical fact, just beyond just fairy tales.
じゃあ前原くんは沼から鬼が現れて人間と交わったっていうのは本当にあった出来事だって信じてるのかしら？
That would be amazing.
信じないわけじゃないんですけど。
Oh, I have high hopes for Shion. She's gonna be like a nice ass demon. Not the ones from hell, but in ancient Japan, the word wasn't necessarily used to denote only that kind, right? The more well-known use involves the drifting foreigner theory. As the story goes, Westerners who were shipwrecked in nearby seas had such markedly different customs they were called demons. Japanese people are relatively similar in appearance to other Asians, but everything about those from the West was different. Their physiques, their faces, and their skin color. In Japan, terms like red demon and blue demon evoke images, especially of Westerners. What's the difference between those two, I wonder? Lacking in skin pigments, Westerners would sunburn easily and turn red. Being fair-skinned, I think blood vessels appearing on their skin would look blue too. A handful of accidental aliens would drift into Japan and come under persecution, being called demons. They would flee into the mountains to survive, turn into bandit groups, and attack villages for food and the like.
なんて説はどうでしょう。ちょっと子供じみてますかね。
Takano gave me a weird smile when, having come up with such an impromptu hypothesis, I unconsciously followed it up with self-deprecation. Still, she didn't smile as if to make fun of me.
別におかしくないわよ。実際に漂流偉人説を唱える人もいる。でも実際はどうなのかは、山賊化した偉人の集団だったのか、本当に地の底から来た鬼たちだったのか。
Yeah, see, like they're okay. That was just a whole like filler story that doesn't even matter because they're just trying to throw me off with that.
じゃあ、
It's like a word
高野さん
problem.
はどっちを信じてるんですか？
Like a word problem. They're trying to throw me off with freaking. Oh, it's a drifting foreigner. Actually, maybe. Maybe there's not demons, or maybe there is. Like I know there's demons. Get out of
真
here.
相は別にして、夢のある方を信じたいわね。その方が面白いでしょ。
There's no way this game invests this heavily in demons and then does not have a single demon in the game. That's just all I'm saying. There's been a lot of talk about demons. Her answers sounded a wee bit romanticist. Here, I thought she'd reject unrealistic stories like that.
さて、
Not that.
いよいよここからよ。面白くなるのは。
Kana-san brought an end to her storytelling and waits for a moment as if to tantalize us.
Huh?
Suddenly, Shion looked around as if something had caught her eye. Head bobbed to and fro like she was making sure nothing had changed.
どうしたシオン？
ごめんなさい。気にしないでください。
Shion pretended as Shion. We're supposed to be an open book, Shion. You can't just not tell me something. Takano-san also made sure nothing had happened, then cleared her throat and broached the next subject.
村人たちに半分鬼の血が流れてるのは話したわね。実はその血なんだけど、鬼は鬼でも人食い鬼の血なんだって。
人食い鬼ですか？急に物騒な響きになりましたね。
その血は今でも村人たちには脈々と流れていてね。時折その血が眠りを覚ますと言われてるわ。
Thought the fairy tale had a happy ending, with humans and demons living in peace, but it began to suddenly change into a brutal, bloody story. Well, they eat people. They say that every decade or so, they can't help but want to feast on human flesh. The villagers can't eat other villagers. So when this happens, it is said they descended on the human villages and conducted onikakushi.
何ですか鬼隠しって。
平たく言え
Have
ば
I been saying it?
鬼たちによる誘拐行為よ。
Hearing Keiichi say it now, he said onakakshe. Onakakshe? I don't know how to. I'm just gonna keep pronouncing it the same way. Broadly speaking, it's when a demon kidnaps someone. Probably freaking insult already corrected me on this, but freaking I don't know. Like what? When a demon is demoned away, they say that the villagers of Onagafuchi would overwhelm unfortunate human villages in order to kidnap sacrifices. Takano-san's explanation was plain and simple, but when I imagined what it must have been like, it was terrifying. They lose their human reason. The villagers turn into real demons en masse. They attack villagers they loathe in the dirty world of the masses. And then they kill and eat their sacrifices.
それじゃあ鬼と何ら変わりないじゃないですか。お社様はどうしたんです？その村にとどまって人々を見守ってるんじゃなかったでしたっけ？
もちろんお社様も了承してたそうよ。だから鬼隠しは無差別ではなく、神様が決めた生贄以外には誰もさらわなかったらしいし。
The text is usually one or two people. Village inhabited by those both human and inhuman. Like the heartwarming episode's colors had inverted like a negative film, revealing the painful, ugly truth.
そうして生贄をさらってきた夜にはね、綿流しの儀式が開かれたというわ。
Watanagashi. Its festival was Watanagashi. I couldn't reconcile the fun festival with the horrible tale Takano-san was telling me.
綿流しは確か冬の間に使った布団なんかに感謝するお祭りじゃなかったでしたっけ？
ケイちゃん、綿って言いません？臓物のこと。
Shion, who had been silent until dude, Shion is best girl. She's
What?
like, if she is a demon, like she's being real like
そういえば今
awesome about it, you know? Like she's not one of those stupid demons.
魚の綿っていう。
If she, I don't think I think she's probably like a transcended human, maybe.
え？
That would make the most sense. Like a jigsaw puzzle, the fun times I had today, and Akana-san's grotesque tale clicked together in my mind.
綿流し。
そう。
I like how freaking Japanese language can do that. Well, I mean, I guess English can do that too. One thing mean two different things? But that's to such an extreme degree right there.
前原くんの想像している通りよ。今でこそ綿流しは毎年6月に行われるちょっと早い夏祭りに過ぎないけど、昔は違った。
嘘だ。
Interesting. No real reason to say that, but I couldn't help it. Hey Barakun, you said that the Watanagashi is a ritual about purifying futons, right? What do you think the futons filled with cotton, with wata, represent? Futons are futons. They're beds. They're things for sleeping in. What else could they possibly represent? I was rattling on, desperately attempting to deny the horrible festival that Takano-san was describing. Deep down, however, I found myself understanding all too well what she meant. Futon stuffed with cotton. If the cotton represented entrails in both pronunciation and meaning, then entrail-filled futons, they would have to be
で
humans.
は、ミカちゃんがやった奉納演舞を思い出してちょうだい。
Why don't you think back to the offertory dance Rika-chan
リカ
performed?
ちゃんがあそこで何をしていたか
What was she
分か
was
ってくる？
doing up there?
わからねえよ。第一リカちゃんの演舞は最後までちゃんと見てないし。
ケイちゃんエキサイトしすぎです。
Jian grabbed one of my ears, reminding me that this wasn't somewhere I should raise my voice. Even so, I still can't suppress this agitation I feel.
リカちゃんが持っていた祭事用の句はもううすうすは気づいてると思うけど、あれは田畑を試す句話ではなくて、
I didn't see the dance all the way through, so I don't know what kind of performance Rika-chan was putting on after I left. I told this to Takano-san. She kindly explained Rika-chan's dance to me. Summarize what she said. After what I'd seen, Rika-chan would pierce the futons with that hoe, let them open, pull out the cotton inside. She'd cut the cotton out one bit at a time and set it afloat. It's the kind of ritual it was. Broadly speaking, it was quite the bombastic ceremony where they rip out the guts and throw them into a basin, and then the ritual was over. It's thought that afterwards, the villagers, each with a different role, dismantled the flesh piece by piece and feasted upon it. At Takano-san's strangely happy giggle, I felt for some reason violent displeasure. Rika-chan, every day during our lunch break, she'd take a rice pounding mallet to the schoolyard, and she'd work so hard, sweating bullets, to practice for the offertory dance she had done today. All that effort, all that work, Kano-san disgraced it. Even though she worked so hard to practice for today.
高野さんももう少し言葉を選んでほしいです。ケイちゃんナイーブなんですから、あまりからかわないでください。
A moment before I opened my mouth to express how angry I was, Shion stopped me. Shion must have been fully aware how that story made me feel.
ごめんなさ
Has Shion read my mind yet?
い。男の子だからショッキングな話は結構好きかと思って。
I can't remember a specific time where she's read my mind. That was pretty, like, it wasn't demon-like, because she didn't say the exact thing I was thinking. Sorry, I thought you'd like a story like that with shock value since you're a boy. Takano-san spoke without a hint of malice as she smiled gracefully. What are we doing
こ
in
の
here?
辺まで話を聞けば、ケイちゃんにもこの最後殿の中にどういうものがあるのか、ほら。
Shion pointed out one of the walls vaguely illuminated by the lantern's light. There was... Here moments ago, they hadn't held my interest. They were just boring-looking tools lined up on the shelves. All those uninteresting tools I didn't understand how to use, they suddenly took on a new meaning. They couldn't help but let out a groan. At first they looked like carpentry tools, like chisels or planes. However, when I thought back, seeing pictures of those sorts of tools before, it came up in a Japanese history textbook. Yes, the ones... Wait, on the page introducing the Kaitai... Oh gosh, they're gonna make me work. Kaitai Shinsho, or the new text on anatomy. Those sorts of things, they're printed realistically in the literature of Germany, capital of the medical world. Really? That's cool. That's a cool, interesting tidbit about Germany that I didn't know necessarily. These aren't carpentry tools. These strangely shaped tools, they're for discretion. Or dissection. Discretion. Everyone knows that in the Edo period, they would dissect the corpses who had been put to death in order to gain knowledge about Western medical techniques. Illustrations of the dissection tools they used at the time came up in textbook supplements. The things hung up on this wall all looked exactly the same as those. If you want a scarier way of looking at it, think of them as cooking utensils. Takano-san, holding the lantern, only light source in the room, led us along the wall. She had the only light, so I had to walk after her whether I liked it or not. Look, Takano-san illuminated a coil chain which left a bigger impression than the other things we saw. The chain itself was nothing unusual, but further along, it were metal fetters that were like hinges, clearly meant for binding people.
ケイちゃん、あれ。
Jan tapped me on the shoulder and pointed to a restraining table that was clearly shaped like a person. My spine froze, my blood felt like it was turning into sherbet as it crawled up my back. On each of the joints there were things like chains and iron balls attached. It was like the table was searching for its next sacrifice, ready to spread their arms wide and close them in. It's probably a chopping block. I think you'd strap a sacrifice down to prep them for eating. The words chopping block sent a jolt through my body. When I looked more closely, there were many dark slices carved into it, as though from a knife or saw. They were the most clear-cut signs of usage you could ask for. Proof these tools weren't just for show, they were used for their original purpose. If someone was strapped tightly onto this table, they probably wouldn't be able to move even a muscle. Their guts would be defenseless. You take one of those eerie cooking knives lined up over there and stab them with it. Then you'd slice open their belly and dissect them.
話には聞いてたけど、すごい。
Okay, so Shion is completely unaware. Like, that's just a reaction. So Shion's just best girl, I think. Before coming in here, Shion had mentioned she had a good guess of what was inside, but it seems to have exceeded her imagination.
まだまだあるわよ。どう？浪人業界より面白いでしょ？
Takano-san had this happy expression, like she was visiting a toy store for the first time. I don't get it. This Mio Takano person had nerves of steel. Are these bizarre, grotesque objects that fascinating to her? I, for one, was not enjoying myself. I'll be frank. This is all too weird for me. Still, there was something even more horrifying than all this. That would be none other than Takano-san herself. Takano-san holding the lantern, giving off such a thin beam of light. If she suddenly had turned it off, then what would I do when the next moment everything went totally dark? That's why I was scared. Takano-san had the only light, and anyway, I was scared. Weird sentence. At some point, Shion had started holding my shirt sleeve. Aww. It was a little annoying to walk like that. Ugh. But I didn't shake her off. That minor sensation allowed me to feel the presence of an ally here and now. Good. Before we even walked halfway through the storehouse, the air I felt on my skin changed completely. The cruel tools lined up, all crammed together in this place. Some were horrible ones, take away sacrifices, freedom, and some were tools made to efficiently disassemble, and prepare the bodies for consumption. Those were just the things I understood. There were plenty of other strange-looking objects that I couldn't even guess the purpose of. Now that I was here, I didn't have the slightest desire to hear the details about what sort of terrifying reasons they would be used for. At the very least, they were all completely different from the sort of clean, simple killing function of a katana. Tools to kill people were obviously constructed in such a way that they could kill people. Thank you, Keiichi. If that was the goal, then the person you used them on would obviously end up dead. The kinds of tools, however, were different. The tools that were here were for cutting people, crushing them, for boiling them and cooking them, for grinding them. They were tools of torture. They weren't made to kill people. People dying was just an incidental result. Actually, they might not even kill them. If the sacrifices could die during such a horrifying ritual process, that would be nice, but they don't even die in the end. They remain in a state of hellish pain. Perhaps they were only being allowed to live. Only being allowed to live, I see. Only now, in this moment, did I fully realize just how terrifying and fearsome that difference was.
人ってね、上手にやると結構殺さずに済むものらしいの。
Takano-san, as if reading my mind. Oh no. What? That doesn't make any sense. Is that the twist? Oh no. I'm scared to click. Now I'm very suspicious. Burning at the stake, the famous method of execution for witches will kill the person immediately. And the body suffers extreme burns on the skin all over. The decomposition of the skin's chemical makeup produces poison-like symptoms and causes an immense shock to the victim. Though I suppose it's still very cruel compared to that of the guillotine, you have to wait far longer for that to happen. This is a long chapter. She describes such horrors in a strange medical way. Shion immediately answered the question I had.
高野さん、看護師さんですから。
There's a saying that nothing can scare a doctor. I guess it's true. And also, there was a method of execution in ancient Rome where they would grill the person, just like a barbecue. They would cover the person in wire netting and slowly cook them. Oh yeah. Over a charcoal fire. To think the memories of when I went to a day camp with my family would come rushing back to me now of all time so vividly. That's what it was like. Apparently they wouldn't die too easily for some reason. According to one source, even if they roasted one side of the person to a crisp for an entire night, they would still be conscious and able to speak fluently. Insane. You grill someone for the whole day and they'd still be conscious? Well, yeah. Just lose all feeling on one side of your body. It said that ancient Rome, famous for their executions, thought of plenty of ways to execute someone while having the victim stay alive as long as possible. Is that true? Among them was one method where they would open the gut and pull out intestines like sausages, pull them up with a winch, and put them on public oh yeah. Shion was behind me, clinging to me. Aw, look at that freaking... You're in need of help. I will help you, Shion. Not because she was scared. She was protecting her stomach. Oh, okay. You would think someone with their intestines pulled out would die instantly, right? Actually, as long as you do it tenderly and thoroughly. It's apparently possible to pull them all out while the person is still conscious. I felt a sick feeling in my stomach. Like my organs were coiling up just from Takano-san's stare. Pulling them out with a winch was rather exaggerated method. In a more barbaric way, they might slice open the gut, then cut the intestines out, throw them everywhere. It's quite imaginable that they did dreadful things like that too, isn't it? However, those being put to death are conscious. It must be far more terrifying than painful. She spoke with pleasure as if she had come here on a sightseeing trip. I heard Shion gulping multiple times near my ears. Perhaps Hinamizawa, or rather, Onagafuchi village, did something like that for the Watanagashi festival. Listen, if you try hard, can't you hear it? I wanted nothing more than to not hear anything at all. So why? Why only at times like these do I begin to hear things I shouldn't be able to? Kana-san realized she'd scared Shion and I enough at this point, smiled soothingly. Then she turned on her heel, raised the lantern, and began to walk again. If Takano-san left us here, we'd get even further away from the light. Chien and I, no matter how scared we were forced to follow Takano-san on her field trip through the ritual storehouse. He says, raising the lantern high in the center of the storehouse. The dim lighting didn't change, but for some reason it felt like I was able to see all of those horrible tools at once. Shion stammered while grabbing the nape of my neck. Couldn't tell because it was so dark, but there was a lot of more tools hanging from the ceiling as well. They all looked like they were made of iron bars, but then I figured it out. Cages. For cages, they were small. Cramped cages, just for one, like a casket. You got locked up in there. No, you wouldn't get locked up inside it. It was another tool meant for restraining people, where the iron bars would squeeze you tightly. All the so many big and large things of all shapes were hanging down. Takano-san's mention of execution by grilling crosses my mind. We weren't just surrounded on all sides by these terrifying instruments. Things crowding the ceiling were even hanging over our heads. There are many of these sorts of bird cages among European torture devices. I'm surprised to see them here in Japan as well. Hey-chan, is there something in there? A person, a mummy? Where? Shion desperately pointed to one of the many human-sized bird cages hanging from the ceiling, but I couldn't tell which one she meant. Being that dark, there wasn't any way that you could tell if something was in there in the first place. I don't see anything. You sure you're not seeing things? Shion didn't seem convinced, but without a means to confirm for ourselves, we couldn't do much but wonder. Got nothing to do with believing in them. Now that I've been shown the real thing like this, there's no possible way to deny it. And now me and Shion gotta fucking stick together, dude, because they are after us. You know, dude, it doesn't matter. You cannot talk to Rena, you cannot talk to Mion, Rika, you can't talk to anybody. Even the nations of Europe, with all their beautiful landscapes and legends, were like a maelstrom during the terrible witch hunts in the Dark Ages. It's well known that the era gave birth to countless gruesome forms of torture and execution. Japan was the same way. Didn't it have its own era of hellscape-like torturous feasts because of religious suppression and things of that nature? Hinamizawa itself had such a period. It had that much history behind it. Even in Europe, the land of the witch hunts, that was all far in the past, no more than a series of historical events, and in this age, nothing that abnormal would ever happen again. That must apply to Hinamizawa as well.
中世の暗黒時代とかがそうだったように、そういうものなんだと解釈します。本当にひなみ沢でこういう恐ろしいことがあったのだとしても、今暮らしているひなみ沢の人々とは何の関係もないことです。
Eiichi, have you not been listening?
前原くんは本当にひなみ沢が好きだよ
Yeah,
ね。
seriously. Get out of here. Start freaking brush up on your freaking context. Freaking people have been dying. You heard the story from them earlier. Takano-san gave me a light smile.
でも高野さんはその風習が実は現代にも残っそうでしたよね。
Jen suggested something that made my heart leap in my throat. Yeah, dude. Are you telling me all of these horrible things are still going on even today?
これ本当にな。しおんちゃんは理解のある人だから話したけど、他の村人には聞かれたくないの。
Thank you. Yes.
下手をしたら
I love that Shion's like a friend.
で袋叩きにされかねないんだから。
She's gonna die. I'm so sad. I'm already sad. I'm I'm preparing myself. Jian flashed with a devilish smile as if reveling in the immortality of
前
it.
原君も
Or
内緒
immort?
にしてね。
That was not what that word was. Immorality of it. It said immortality, like fucking Mortal Kombat. Mebara-kun, keep it a
知ら
secret
れたら
too.
私、お社様のたたりに会うか。
I think you still will.
たたりなら、今年はどんな死に方をさせられちゃうのかしら。
If it's the sacrifice, then I will be thrown into the Onagafuchi swamp while still alive.
そういえば今夜よね。お社様のたたりがある夜は。
As if Takada-san said, bringing her face right up close to ours, as if to say that if she had the choice, she'd rather suffer the curse. That was what she seemed to be implying. Takada-san took out a fairly worn notebook out of her paper bag, then began to flip through its pages. There were all sorts of references and newspaper clippings attached to them, and it had all manner of things written inside. The letters were very small and bunched together, so I couldn't tell at a glance what it was about.
本当は国会図書館で当時の新聞をほらここ。
Photocopy of a page from some book slid into the notebook, and it too was written in small, tight lettering. Like the other passages, I couldn't tell what it was about just by glancing
こ
at
れ
it.
は実際にあったお話よ。明治の終わり頃にね。鬼ヶ淵村で身元不明の惨殺死体が発見されたんですって。
An old newspaper clipping attached to the page spoke of something that was no rumor or fairy tale.
当時の警察の資料がほとんど残ってないそうだから、ほら、これ不鮮明だけど、明治の頃の新聞の切り抜きみたい。
Never before has there been a corpse treated with such cruelty and inhumanity. Could it be the work of a demon? Being a copy of a copy, it was very hard to make it out, but it was more than enough to make me feel strangely tense. Near the end of the Meiji area, an old Onagafuchi village, a mangled corpse was discovered. The identity of the corpse was unknown. It wasn't in a state where it could even be identified in the first place. It was a missing head. Okay, so we're repeating this information. The skin had been peeled off. Oh, that's new. The entire body, and there were markings that implied terrible torture to every place imaginable. Not only that, but the belly had been cut open by a sharp knife, and the entrails completely dragged out. The police immediately began an investigation, but since they couldn't even determine the identity of the victim, much less the criminal, finding answers was extremely difficult.
どういう状況かわかるかしら。
Couldn't imagine a strange sight even if I tried. That was the first time I was ever thankful for my lack of imagination. The victim was skinned while still alive, underwent all kinds of torture, and was killed brutally. The author here also thinks that even after death, their remains were divided and dissected even further, the epitome of inhumanity. I'm of the opinion that the entire process was performed while the person was alive, though. What do you think, Meibara-kun? She spoke in a way intended to make me imagine even more vicious things. As my brain was already far over capacity, however, there was no way I could imagine anything more brutal. Then, when I broke my gaze from Takano-san's, all those strangely shaped tools were all around us. Wonder if you could faithfully reproduce the mutilated corpse discovered at the end of the Meiji era with the tools found in this place. I want to deny it. I don't want to admit that something so terrible could have happened at all. Even so, they were so strange. So terrifying, these tools. And as if they had seen through my attempt to escape from them, they did nothing but ridicule me silently.
その薄気味悪い事件が何だって言うんですか？
筆者はね、鬼ヶ淵村の恐ろしい習慣は明治以降の近代。
Jesus. This is one long ass chapter.
ひょっとすると 昭和初期くらいまでは残ってたんじゃないかって結んでるわ。
This corpse, which at a glance had been brutally killed after a period of torture. In actuality, however, it was the pitiful sacrificial remains of a man-eater's terrifying feast. The corpse was just leftovers. It was so fantastic, so strange, that it didn't feel real. Was this an extension of the legends too? Happened in the Meiji era, though. Meiji? 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 Though, which is just too recent to call a legend. Also, there's a newspaper clipping right here suggesting it.
でも本当にあったとしたって明治なんて言ったらそれこそ100年くらい前の。
たった100年前のことよ。それにね、昭和に入ってからだってあるんだから。終戦直後に騒ぎになった缶詰疑惑。あ、ごめんなさい。この話はタブーだったわよね。
The Kana-san immediately stopped talking as if worried about Shion. Shion briefly looked somewhat angry, but that expression soon disappeared.
今高野さんなんて言いました？缶詰疑惑って。
Tomitaki-san would open the door slightly.
驚かせちゃったかな。
あら、二郎さんも見たくて我慢できなくなったかしら。
This is a splendid treasure trove of devices. Yeah.
僕は遠慮させてもらうよ。
Little do we fucking know, dude, that the demons can read minds.
生来ね、こういうのは苦手なんだ。
This is where we lose. Kana-san held her stomach to muffle her laughter as if she wanted to make a comment about his masculinity.
それより演舞とセレモニーが終わってみんな沢の方にあと何分もしないうちにお祭りは終わっちゃう。
あら、いけない。前原くんがあまりにも聞き上手だからまたお話三昧になっちゃったわ。二郎さんは表で待ってて、私はちょっと写真を撮る。本当はいくつか道具を持って帰りたいんだけど、それはさすがに無理そうだからね。
Kana-san took a camera out of her paper bag and began to snap photographs. It looked like she was having fun, like she was on a scavenger hunt.
ケイチ君も出るかい？
もう十分にしよう。もういいだろう。出ようぜ。綺麗な空気が吸いたいよ。
同感です。出ましょう。
Best girl. I don't know why. Every time she pops on screen, I'm like, that's best girl. There she is. I did feel a bit of hesitation leaving Takana-san by herself in this darkness. When I thought about it, though, I realized that whatever kinds of evil spirits and ghosts lurked in the darkness, none of them could hold a candle to how scary she was. Even if a phantasm were to appear, she'd be overjoyed and flash her camera at it. It seemed like Shion shared my somewhat rude mental images. We exchanged glances and smiled painfully. We left Takano-san there, bathed in the strobe of camera flashes, and decided to go leave the ritual storehouse. Everyone at the festival seemed to have gone to the stream, so their voices were very distant. The voices of the bugs, on the other hand, were clear, lending an empty feeling of isolation to the place.
どうだい？面白かったかい？
Kana-san gave us a somewhat mischievous grin. You should have been able to tell by looking at how pale our faces were.
富武さんと一緒に留守番をしてればよかったです。
Tomitaki-san laughed so delightfully that it wiped away our dark feelings.
シオンちゃんはどうだったかな？怖かったかい？
一応心の準備があった分怖くはなかったですけど、でもやっぱり実物は迫力あります。
Shion spoke like she wasn't scared at all. She really had been quite afraid, but seeing as how I was in a way worse state than her, I didn't have much room to talk. As Tomitaki-san grinned candidly, my mind exhausted and locked up by nervousness began to calm itself.
高野さんはおとなしく見物してたかな。ほら、彼女子供っぽいと宝の山を前にさぞや興奮してたんじゃないかと思ってね。
Both Shion and I laughed and left that as our answer.
見るだけならいいんだけどね。 こっそりと何かを持ち出したり、いじくりすぎて細具を壊したりしないかが心配なんだよ。
Right, that's quite possible. She is alone in there right now. She might pilfer something small and easily concealed, hiding it in her pocket.
やりかねないです。
Shion said what I was
本
thinking.
当に何も壊したりしなかった。なんだかドタンバタンと飛び跳ねるような音がよく聞こえたからね。僕は不安で不安で。
ごめんなさい、フィルムがなくなっちゃった。二郎さん、フィルムが余ってたら分けてくれないかしら。
Kana-san appeared while we were talking about her taking everyone by surprise. Tomitaki-san smoothly grinned and responded as if nothing had happened. He's pretty mature.
もう予備のフィルムは申し訳ないね。
もういついかなる時でもフィルムを残しておかないと仕方ないわね。
Kana-san scratched his head apologetically. Without film, we're done here. Kana-san seemed to have given up because of that too. We checked carefully to make sure we hadn't left anything inside, and then we closed the door and turned to the heavy padlock we left beside it.
高野さん、何も持ち。
失礼ね。そこまで子供じゃないつもりよ。
Kerklack? Tomitaki set the padlock back to the way it was before. From a cursory glance, it didn't look like thieves had snuck in at all.
よし、僕たちも沢に行こう。綿を流すところくらいやらないとお祭りに来た意味がないよ。
Tomitaki-san spoke brightly, urging us all on, setting cotton afloat down the stream. I shake my head a few times, driving away the dismal thoughts as to the double meaning. Takana-san, looking a little let down, kept turning back to glance at the ritual storehouse.
もうこれっきりにしてくれよ。十分に知的好奇心は満たせただろう。
まさか、むしろ新しい興味を光る今日ので、これまでの仮説が一気に現実に。これで今後の調べ方がだいぶ変わってくるんだから。
Oh, she's truly indomitable. Her curiosity is really something else, still interested in all this through and through. We're dead. Okay, the music cut out, so I just thought we were dead. We descended the stone stairs, and all the people crowding the stream came into view. Near the bottom of the stairs, we could clearly see people receiving cotton that had been cut out for them, wishing upon the cotton and setting it down afloat. Setting afloat down the stream. Festival was already over.
まず綿流しの一番いいところを撮影し損ねたよ。
あら、まだ遅く。私が行って流すんだから、私を撮ってはくださらないのかしら。
Kana-san, with an impish expression, brought her head to Tomitaki-san's shoulder. Despite his age, he looked embarrassed. I felt an honest respect for Tomitaki-san, man to man, for dating such a handful of a
じゃあ
woman.
ね、前原くん、しおんちゃんも。
僕たちは今からでも沢に行ってみる。君たちも一緒に来るかい？
まさかお二人の邪魔なんてできま。どうぞごゆっくり。
Shion waved her hand to them with an expression just as impish as Takana-san's. Tomitaki-san, on his part, he seemed to want us to come, but whatever. Shion gave a big stretch and sat down on the stone steps.
疲れちゃいました。
同感だな。俺も疲れた。
ケイちゃんは綿流し初めてなんですよね。
You know what I just thought about? Kei-chan, this is your first Return Negashi.
私なんか気にしないで行ってきてください。私は疲れちゃったんで、人混みはちょっとパスしておきます。
If we were to go now, we'd barely slip into the end of the cotton drifting ceremony.
お姉たちがケイちゃんのことを探してるかもしれませんから、行ってきてください。
あ、そうだ。ミオンたちと別れたままそれっきりだったな。探してると悪い。
It's a bad idea. Everybody's gonna read my mind. I'm gonna be killed. And suddenly, Shion suddenly got a playful look on her face and put her index finger to her lips as if telling me to keep this a secret.
お姉ってすっごく嫉妬深いんです。私がケイちゃんを独占してたことがバレると、いろいろうるさいんで、今夜のことは秘密にしておいてくださいね。
Tonight a secret. Don't say things that are so embarrassing.
そういう意味だけじゃないですよ。今夜私たちがしたことを思えば秘密にするのは当然です。今夜起こるかもしれないお社様のたたり。
No one
私た
knows.
ち4人が最有力候補なんですからね。
They're just gonna read my mind and I'm gonna die. Ugh. That's awful. Listening to Ted's attention began taut again. Shion, however, burst out laughing.
じゃあ私はお姉に出くわす前に、今日は本当に疲れてるからお姉とやり合えるだけの体力はないですし。
I'm hoping it's not
シオン
Shion,
って
but
ミオンと仲がいいのか悪いのか。
仲いいですよ。
even though she said that, her vague expression explained that there were a lot of oddities in the relationship between Ted
俺
and
は
the
一人っ
twins.
子だからよくわかんないな。せいぜい仲良くしろよ。
はい、余計なおせっかいと受けたまわり。それじゃあ私はケイちゃんも急いで行った方がいい。本当に綿流しが終わっちゃいます。
Shion stood up and brushed the dust off her backside. After watching her do so, my eyes returned to the final ceremony of the Watanagashi festival below me.
でもあの音は何だったんでしょうね。不愉快というか気味が悪いというか。
何の音だって？
音ですよ。ドタンバタンってうるさかったじゃないですか。
Giving her a blank expression as Shion stared hard at me. Stared hard at
ご
her
めん
too.
シオン、はしょらないで最初から説明して。何がうるさかったって？
ケイちゃん気にならなかったんですか？
What? All said and done, it was like we were speaking two different
シオン
languages.
冗談抜きで初めから説明してくれないか。音がどうしたって？
ケイちゃんこそ冗談抜きで本当に気にならなかったんですか？
I don't like that we're hearing two different things. None of us are giving any ground. Both of us are staring at each other in disbelief. We're answering questions with more questions with no actual sign of conversation in sight. When? Tell me when. Definitely an urge to shout at her. I asked politely.
もう一度聞くからな。質問は俺からだ。じゃあ聞くぞ。音がしたって何のことだ？
ドタンバタンってなんだかどこか遠くの板の間で子供が跳ねてるような。
Okay. That's what what's his name said.
本当に気にならなかったんですか？
Tomitaki.
気にならないも何も。そんな音いつ聞こえた？
There. That's what
俺
I
は
need to
何
know.
も聞いてないぞ。
ちょっとケイちゃんそれ本気で言ってる
Why
ん
are
です
you
か？
withholding this information? When? When did it happen? At what point? That's what I need to know. Shion didn't explain a simple answer. Impressed me further. Expression serious. I have no clue what she's talking about, but if it has Shion acting so like this, whatever it was, it gave me the creeps, sent a chill down my spine.
さっき最後伝の中で高野さんと一緒に見て回ってる
Yeah.
最中、
That was the whole thing.
高野さんが昔話を始めた頃からかな。少しずつだんだんとちょくちょくと。
Child jumping on distant floorboards?
嘘だろ？最後の最後で怖がらせるのはなしだぜ、おい。
I didn't hear anything at all. In fact, it was so utterly silent in there that my own heartbeat was almost deafening.
ケイちゃんこそ怖がらせないでください。なんだか高野さんの怖い話に合わせて音を立ててるようで、私ずっと薄気味悪かったんですから。
Well, Tomitaki also heard it. Oh no. Dude, what if the people that hear that sound... Dude, what if the people that hear that sound are sacrifices to the thing? I just kind of put it together. Because if Tomitaki heard it and Shion heard it, and they both die, and they're the two victims, and Takano-san lives, and I live, there's something wrong. And it's something. Electric cold as it falling on my body. This is one long ass chapter. I even cut in the middle of this shit, and I might have to do it again. When it reached in my mind
ケイ
froze
ちゃんも
over.
高野さんも全然意にも介さない風だったので、私も聞こえないふりをずっとしてましたけど。
Tomitaki-san also heard that shit, dude.
聞こえましたよね。何度かはすごく大きな音でしたから。
His eyes were begging me to tell her I heard it. I had no doubt, however, that my own eyes suggested something entirely different. You've got to be kidding, Lou. In that storehouse, we were surrounded by brutal ritual tools that looked like they were from another planet, listening to terrifying old stories. Shion had been hearing a sound that we couldn't hear by herself. Did that make Shion, who heard it, tremble, or should it make me, who didn't hear it, tremble? I didn't know the answer at that time. For now, Shion seemed to have made the decision before I did.
なんだよ突然。
引っかかりましたね、ケイちゃん。
Are you serious?
嘘ですよ。
No.
嘘。
You're completely lying to me.
はあ
Nope. No, you're a complete liar. Like how easily I skip. No, because Tomitaki-san heard it as well. This one seemed somehow artificial. He was like, I heard some banging in there. It was weird, like someone jumping on the floorboards. And I thought it was weird, but I just let it go because the story let it go. Then after giving me 2 or 3 generic diplomatic goodbye phrases, she left almost like she was running away. Shit, man, you should have hugged her or some shit, dude. That's when you hug somebody. All I could do was look after her with my mouth agape. At the end of the day, I didn't have a clue what was going on. Dylan laughed it off and said she had been lying, but she couldn't possibly have been lying. Of course not. Now that I think back, thank you. Boom, called
なん
it.
だかドタンバタンと僕は不安で不安で。
The most neutral party present at the time said he had heard something. The noise, was it real? The banging sounds. As though a child was jumping up and down on some kind of floorboards far away. Oyashiro's curse. Oyashiro-sama's curse, which happens every year, might happen again tonight. The most plausible victim candidates were Tomitaki-san, or Takano-san, Tomitaki-san, Shion, and me. The bustling of the people sounded further away than I would have liked, and the sounds of insects sounded too close for comfort. I'm near so much human warmth, yet I can't ever go back there again. That was the ominous idea. Yes, that should be the idea that you keep with you. I was pounced on from behind, causing... Rena?
ケイチ、
Oh,
見
fuck.
つけたなの
It's
です。
over. We lost. It's over. Alright, guys. I'm gonna end it here, because I don't know what's gonna happen. It's playing the happy music, but fuck that shit. Nope. This is it. Peace. See you later. Theories? I don't know. I like I said before, I think that the people that hear the noise get killed. I don't know why that would be, though. Rika-chan found me, which leads me to believe that they already know that I was over there. I mean, and they could read minds. As if we've learned nothing from the last episode of this, which was in a different universe, mind you. But it was that the demons can basically read my mind. They were talking about, like, oh, like, I know your parents aren't home, blah, blah, blah. I know that this and this and this and this happened, and this is what you're thinking exactly. And they could always, like, tell exactly what I'm thinking in class, so I know they could read my mind. Which means that they're gonna instantly know about everything that just transpired. I think Shion's dead. She's too likable of a character in a horror game to just be alive, you know? You know how, like, someone's too... You know someone's gonna die when they're too likable in a story. It's sad. It's sad. But it's true. Like, they've made Shion kind of this reliable friend. Like, in the first one, your reliable friend was Oishi-san. And Oishi-san was interesting, reliable friend because he was never there. So he was almost not, like, not helpful, you know? He wasn't, like, a good friend. But Shion's a good friend, so Shion's gonna die. That's just my theory. And it's gonna be real sad. My character's not gonna be able to deal with that for some reason. And I say for some reason, but obviously, like, I wouldn't be able to deal with that. Freaking Best Girl, Jesus. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys enjoyed this episode, please hit the like button. I really appreciate it. Subscribe if you haven't done so already. I know this was a longer one, and we cut in the middle of this chapter without a halfway point. So I'm guessing that there's no halfway point marker. Unless I hit one in the last episode really fast. Maybe I did, and that's why this one is so long. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys enjoyed, please hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't done so already, and I hope to see you guys in the next episode, whenever that may be. And peace out, you guys.